All righty. Hello, project-based learning. I am from New York City, and for those of you who don't know, I am from the Bronx, and 5 short miles and 6 long degrees of separation come between the city that you know and the world that I know, right there, highlighted in yellow, which is home to 40% of the city's waste, the sewage treatment plant, 100% of the Bronx waste, the sewage pelletizing plant, the electrical power plant, 60,000 diesel trucks a week. Right there. Holy crap. Literally. Literally, right? So these pictures were all taken within 4 blocks of my K-12 school. Nice. Throw in 4 jails, 6 strip clubs, and no public library. It is really no wonder that my kids are the canaries in the coal mine. So I'm here to open your eyes today to a new way of thinking, and I'm going to start talking fast, and we're going to start getting involved. But let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, is the glass half empty or is it half full? Stretch the answer. Is it half empty or is it half full? See, great, but I believe it's 100% full. 100% full of 2 things that my kids in particular really need: clean air and clean water. So I believe in this concept of endless resourcefulness. And what does it mean? Well, it means taking garbage, if you will, taking useless products and turning them into something with a multiplier effect, something transformational, that's high, anything that can build value, add value, and teach kids to move forward. So I am affectionately known as El Capitan de los Pollitos, the captain of the crazy little chickens. I'm in a K-12 school. I've got lots of them. Gobble, 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 gobble. But I'm a parent. I'm a resident. I'm probably the oldest 6th grader you'll ever meet. But I am this insurgent educator, if you will, who has this fundamental belief that kids should not have to leave their neighborhood to live, learn, and earn in a better one. That ground zero, right where we are, is probably the best place for me to start some of the best reforms. And then imagine if we could build something greater right where I live. Now, the reality is, I heard this 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, Jerome Ringo, no one's even playing Nintendo anymore. What is it, like Xbox 360? So, you know, we talk about constant being change and change being constant, but the one thing I've seen is kids are getting sicker. They're getting fatter. The emergency room is the primary source of health care in my community, and that's not good for the 1% or the 99%. 75% of the kids who I see labeled learning disabled would not be simply if their parents had access to good prenatal nutrition. And this is America. This is America. So these things really affect me. The reality of my community looks like this. And I will tell you this, that the inequality of the cradle of inequality is really the inequality of the cradle, so to speak. And I'm right there. But I believe it's far better to manage risk than it is to manage crisis. So every day I get excited. Now, my K-12 school, by design or default, is 4 blocks from this. So this is what my kids see going every day. And that's probably the subject of a whole nother talk. But this is what my kids are up against. And with schoolyards and playgrounds that look like this is a great place to be if what? You're a stray bullet or a broken bottle. But like, what's really inspirational, aspirational about that? And as jobs continue to leave this country and we're continually more and more dependent on other sources of energy, it's no wonder that so many cities have really become this veritable desert. Not to mention here in California, a water crisis. So the one constant we know is change. And while constant is change, change has really become the new constant. Now, I'm an educator, so yeah, I like safe, but I like equitable. I like inclusive, and I like transformational. And to me, those are the things that motivate me. And quite frankly, I'm at the point in my life where I'm not willing to accept the things I can't change. On a day-to-day basis, I get up and I'm going to change what I cannot accept. And trust me, like most of you, I got a lot of work to do. So for me, remarkably in the South Bronx, it all starts with seeds, planting seeds. And the kids are my seeds, and there's always something growing in the back of my classroom. And let me tell you about my seeds. 100% of my seeds are either homeless, foster care, adjudicated youth, English language learners, or IEP learners. But therein lies the greatest potential for the most abundant results, the greatest harvest ever, transformational change right where it matters most, where I live. And that, to me, is critically important. So in the back of my classroom, something's always growing. The cool thing about plants, ladies and gentlemen, no poop to scoop Nothing that eats their young, and no floaters at the top of the tank. Trust me, it's really cool. It goes a long way. And you see how attentive these kids are to their plants. So much so that, believe it or not, many years ago, we ripped up over 6 acres of public spaces to build gardens across the Bronx, which is totally cool. Except I wanted that in school. So I started dedicating my life to the following. And I'm here today hoping that my reach will forever exceed my grasp. But why do I love project-based learning? Where's David? Okay, David, I'll tell you why. Because it teaches kids something that you can't teach anywhere else. It teaches them one thing, to take responsibility. And, you know, for the college-bound kids, well, you know, my honors class, I'll call it, best of all, they own it. Imagine kids being self-regulated learners, coming to school anxious and excited to be engaged, to be involved, and to change the world they live in. That's what I love about project-based learning, and that's why it works, from the ground up, top down, and bottom up. Accountability matters, and when kids are involved, they love it. So when I learned that I could grow plants on a wall, I thought this was cool. And just to give you some scale, and imagine this screen being 1,000 tomato plants. And that's what I thought was pretty cool, particularly in the South Bronx where there were no plants. So I started taking this technology and putting it into classrooms. And lo and behold, we gave birth to the first edible wall in New York City in classrooms. And ladies and gentlemen, this is my harvest in the South Bronx. And this right here is my tool of mass instruction. It's also calibrated, thank you. It's calibrated in inches and centimeters, so we could do all the metric conversion, you know, teach to the test, but it's here. But this is not just a ticket to good health. It's a license to print money. And where does the food go? Well, here we are in my bulletproof school, cooking with plastic forks and plastic knives and an electric stove. And we're going, these are my heirloom kids making heirloom sauce. And we're putting gourmet, delicious food right into the cafeteria. And then I got involved with real project-based learning, hands-on stuff that equated it to science, to English, to math, to the kind of stuff that was going to get them to pass the test and get me the get-out-of-jail-free card. Oh, but that's a whole other story. And we started designing literally green walls and traveling around the country installing green walls. And we started taking over ugly institutional buildings like mine. Like mine, my building is horrible. David's been there, he knows. And what did we do? We started talking about retrofitting and 21st century jobs and technologies that can't be outsourced, that are ultimately going to impact lives in ways we've never imagined. But most importantly, the coolest project-based learning thing in the world is a paycheck. Because neither jail nor retail is a living wage in the South Bronx, but green jobs represent the promise of a brighter America for all of us while working to remediate the economy in the world we live in. And this is the youngest nationally certified workforce in America, on the roof with the Bronx Borough President, on top of the courthouse instead of in it for a change, which to me is the kind of justice I've been advocating my whole life. So we got so good at this, I call this my Jefferson's moment. The following summer, we went out to the Hamptons and started designing landscape on multi-million-dollar homes, earning living wage. And to think that my kids from the poorest congressional district in America who had no backyard could start planting and building and designing backyards like that looked really cool. We like that. I call it a si se puede moment. So much so the following summer we moved into the Hamptons. That's right. We moved on up from the South Bronx to Southampton. And my kids and I moved into the Hamptons and started installing green roofs for lovely, wealthy clients. And we got really good at it. But to think that my kids could grow this and build this from seed to rooftop is rather inspirational. My kids grew that. And now you may ask yourself, what do these green roofs and green walls do besides change mindsets and landscapes? Well, they really teach kids about perseverance. They teach them to grow. They teach them to nurture. And when kids learn to nurture, we as a society all embrace our better nature. But this guy right here really figured it out. Construction guy called me up and said, Steve, we got this amazing resource in the South Bronx. Abandoned buildings. Boy, we got bunches of them. We've got a bunch. And he realized that my future farmers were really the greatest potential workforce ever because they showed up, they grow up, and they come to work daily. And we started taking over abandoned buildings. And lo and behold, doing things and learning jobs that could never be outsourced. This is the first kid in 3 generations to have a bank account. This young man from Africa was foraging for food 10 years ago. Now he's growing it exponentially and teaching it to other teachers in 3 languages. And can't wait to send it home to Africa, Mr. Ritz. I cannot wait. I mean, he's amazing. I love this guy. And this is the promise. When you can take abandoned buildings and convert them to exteriors that look like this and interiors that look like this, That is the promise of public education. That's what we get up every day charged to do. So CNN thought it was cool. We invited them to come on down to check out our farmers market in school. I like to say it's unbelievable, okay, corny, but my kids get paid $17 an hour to maintain that landscape in New York City, and that beats flipping burgers at McDonald's. Let me tell you, you want to see kids show up and grow up and earn a living wage, they come. So it's not only about poor communities, you see, and I was talking to Katrina in Dallas, and we were saying that, listen, people say this is for the rich. It's not, because guess what? My kids got paid living wage to install this. So it's really bridging communities together with a win-win-win value. And again, when kids from the poorest congressional district in America can design, build, and install a green wall and install it in the heart of Rockefeller Center in the NBC store, this is what I call a si se puede moment. It truly is. Scholastic, in fact, I spoke there too. They were very nice, and we made salsa right off the wall, and then I wheeled it down Broadway. It was totally cool. But when the Bronx Borough President and State Senator come to my class in the South Bronx, it is proof that the Bronx can change attitudes now. And hopefully I'm trying to change America now, one plant at a time, one classroom at a time. But here, when kids straight out of prison can come across New York City and build and install 100 gardens for handicapped kids across New York City to teach people where their food comes from, that to me is inspirational, aspirational, and that's the way we build community. Nothing is more inclusive than this. This used to be a 911 moment before my program, putting kids and people in a room like this. Now it's a 311 moment, a shared moment, a collaborative moment, and that's what project-based learning does. It teaches these two remarkable skills, collaboration and cooperation. Imagine that. Collaboration and cooperation, the things that are going to really move forward. But most importantly, when my kids from a homeless shelter decided to start taking their profits from a farmer's market to support kids in Haiti and Japan and Africa, I realized that, wow, we were really onto something, and there was something green for everybody. So we gave birth to the Green Bronx Machine, and it's my nonprofit, it's their nonprofit. The kids are totally involved, and in this age of STEM, I like to call it STEAM. And we are truly in the South Bronx cooking with STEAM. And what does it stand for? Well, the A stands for art, aspiration, and advocacy. What does it look like in practice? Well, they designed these ties, they've designed the shirts. It looks like this. Taking garbage and redesigning it into chairs, figuring out how we can resource, recycle, and grow our way into a whole new economy. But closer to home, what does it look like? Well, it looks like really analyzing where we live and saying, imagine. Imagine if we could come together for a greater good and change right where we live. Now, the reality is this. My K-12 school is right here. This is an ugly block. Let's call it what it is. It's ugly. It is hot as hell in the summer, and it is cold in the winter. And when it rains, all the water goes down this hill into that big pile of garbage I showed you earlier. That's not good for my people or any of the rich people around. So my kids started getting aspirational, inspirational. We started drawing. We started designing. We did this new thing. We started voting and passing bonds and writing grants. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the new South Bronx. This is that block 3 years later. And here we are marching up Lafayette Avenue. Now, just like in the 60s and 70s when business after business disappeared, we are building business after business back, store by store. We're building value. We're creating a community. This is project-based learning at its best. And beyond our own community, beyond the people who are now being able to march up the block and smell flowers and have a place to congregate and aggregate, you can be an absentee landlord. You can be whoever, a business owner. But we all benefit when my kids take buildings in a community that turns it like that and turns it into this. To me, that's paradise, so much so that Disney came to the South Bronx. Go figure. Hi, I'm Steve Ritz, and I'm a science teacher from the South Bronx. And where I teach, kids have no access to locally grown, fresh, and affordable vegetables. My kids didn't even know where vegetables came from. So I started teaching my students how to grow their own food, and they loved it. Before long, we started the Green Bronx Machine, and lo and behold, in the South Bronx, we started a food revolution. Gardeners like these are spreading the word about fresh vegetables and feeding our own community at the same time. Here we are, 30,000 pounds of vegetables later. We've got veggies popping up in every corner of the city. We found out we could grow food almost anywhere. Under bridges, on walls, in classrooms. And look, right here, 4 stories up, we're growing without soil. It's called hydroponics, and not only is it really cool, it's great for the environment. Our kids have learned how to build edible walls. What could be more cool than a wall full of food? Our motto is "Si se puede." That means yes, we can. And you can too. Si se puede!
Si se puede. Makes me want to go out and plant something right now.
Those guys are so fired up.
Yeah. So next time you bite into a carrot, remember how much fun it can be to garden in new ways.
It's bound to put a smile on your face when you pass the plate.
So pass the plate, pass the plate. My kids are passing standardized tests. I've got the get out of jail card free, hooray! But these are my future farmers, the cute little ones. And when they start young like this, they get so involved and they're so proud of their work. And in a neighborhood that was once called Fort Apache, the only teepees you're seeing are the ones that we're building to celebrate community. And that's what it's all about, without a food stamp or a fingerprint. We are feeding ourselves healthy, nutritious food all year long and getting people involved with culturally relevant food in ways you can't begin to imagine. These are my kids. These are my families. These are my colleagues. This is what we're doing. Somewhere over the rainbow, my friends, is the new South Bronx, and I'm proud to be there. I wish you could see the pictures a little better. But for me, the transformation has been this. No more little Knicks or little Nets or little Giants or little Angels or little Lakers. I want little mushrooms, little broccolis, little string beans. I want kids aggregating and congregating around things that they know are good for them, so they know where their food comes from. And for me, that's a kid growing food on cement in a backyard, but understanding where their food comes from. And when Jose can pay attention to details like this, and Omar and Henry tell carrots come from under the ground instead of, through a bulletproof window with a woman with a beard and a tattoo yelling next, that's the kind of moral victory I, as an educator, love. And for most importantly, when you expand their palates, you expand their vocabularies. You move these kids into spheres of success they've never imagined. Behold the glory and bounty that is Bronx County right in my classroom. If I can do this, why can't you? And most importantly, these are the groceries we're sending kids home with every 30 days to where the average income for a family of 6 is $14,000. So imagine getting healthy food home every month to families. This is the kind of project-based learning that gets everybody involved, so much so this is my full court press when grandma comes to school to pick up groceries and get the homework packet and everything else that we need to make sure little Johnny does everything properly in school. This is the kind of project-based learning and community building that we're all about. Yes, I'm a teacher, and yes, it's about ABCDs, but for me, it's about asset-based community development, and I'm going to leverage every asset I can in my community to get an efficacious educational result. I've got my big kids teaching little kids how to use food stamps. That's not only good for them, that's good for the whole nation if kids are buying healthy food. Think about health calls. We're eating ourselves to death, so we're growing much more than food. We're growing justice in the South Bronx. Closer to home, on top of the 4 train, we're even growing pumpkin patches. And then at Thanksgiving, we get to eat them in class. For the rich and affluent, my kids are installing koi ponds. We're licensed, bonded, and insured. We'll travel. If anybody needs, let me know. I can see you after. But no matter where we go, we are growing food. And these are my children of the corn, generating food. Teaching people that where their food comes from matters. We're looking at using garbage and things that we would normally throw away to grow food and reconfigure things that are going to impact not only ourselves where we live, but countries and economies around the world where my kids in the South Bronx can make a huge difference. Now, I don't expect every kid to be a farmer, but I expect them to read about it, write about it, blog about it, and offer outstanding customer service. And man, oh man, do they. My kids are vibrant and entrepreneurial, and we are from the South Bronx, and we're doing it on a day-to-day basis. And I will tell you this. As a protective parent, I'm thrilled to see kids pollinating plants instead of each other. I'll leave it at that and move on quickly. So these are my kids. These are my classroom. Where does the food go? 0 miles to plate, right down into the cafeteria where there is this new thing in my school. It's called fresh, organic food. We grow it. We grow it monthly. We grow it daily. The rest goes to local soup kitchens and shelters where, sadly, so many of my kids get their second and third meal of the day. So we are really creating a project that is impacting everybody and is loved everywhere. Where I like to say we're stepping it up, and the cool thing is no Air Jordans or school uniform was ever ruined on my farm. You can farm in the basketball court, and the farm can be together where we're teaching kids healthy habits where it matters most. Blackfield, brownfield, toxic waste field. In the South Bronx, I'm proving that you can grow food efficaciously and profitably all year long. My flower sales put bake sales to shame in ways that make dollars and so much more sense. And to think my kids are doing it, they're planting seeds. They're cultivating, they're nurturing, they're patient, they're learning skills I myself am hoping to aspire to achieve one day. I'll keep working on it. But again, when you can bring kids from as disparate a background as this together for something as healthy and inclusive as this, all of us win. So this is the food. These are the kids. About the kids, my kids have gone from 40% attendance to 93% attendance. 100% of my kids have graduated and are earning living wage and are in post-secondary thing. Happy kids, happy families, happy colleagues. I mean, and this is on cement. This is the behold the glory and bounty that is Bronx County. I grow 7 kinds of mint in my class. It's my intellectual Viagra. It also freshens their breath. I mean, but at my age, this is the kind of stuff that's erotic. It's totally cool. Seeing kids smile like this is insane. To think that they grew this. My kids grew that. And that picture to me says more than I ever could. And what are we doing with the food? Well, we're putting it right where we need it. Health input equals output, particularly in school. Try teaching a kid after 7 donuts or 13 bags of chips. You guys know this. So what do? We put it in a pot and cook it up. And then we've created new technology.
That marginalized communities want cheaper food. No, they want healthy food.
And this is a former abandoned building.
Kids are getting fatter. They're getting sicker. I have 200-pound 6th graders. And to me, that's appalling. I can't accept that. It's just not right. Listen, when kids lose weight and they go home and they're bringing food home to their families, and grandparents are getting involved, and parents are getting involved, and people are talking about what's going in their bodies. Plant by plant, classroom by classroom, we're changing outcomes and we're changing destinies. I have kids who are teachers now. I have kids who are aspiring to things and jobs and places that they've never imagined. That, to me, is exciting. Put a seed in the ground. Put a seed in the ground. It's that simple.
Put a seed in the ground, you see, because we're at this point in society where it's no longer us versus them. It is us versus ourselves, and we are killing ourselves. We have developed habits and practices that are just insane. And we can change that where it matters most, right in school. Listen, I love teaching kids to count, but teaching them what counts is so much more important than teaching them to count. And, you know, there's this myth that we need more cheap food. We don't. We need healthy food. And my kids are proving that day after day we can flood our community with it and grow healthy outcomes. We're looking at new technologies. And I like to say that the borough that gave birth, let me go back. The borough that gave birth to baggy pants and funky fresh beets, and Sam will be here tomorrow, is now home to organically grown red ones. But 30,000 pounds of vegetables later, my favorite crop is organically grown citizens, graduates, members of the middle class. I love Asian eggplant, but really I love kids that are getting off the block and doing amazing things. Kids who are taking lots that look like this and turning them into freestanding economic entities that are generating food and jobs where we need them most. So I don't care what city or what country you're from. I know all of us in this room are dedicated to making health equality a reality. And I'm just determined to do my part. I get up early, I come early, I say, please, thank you, have a nice day, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, you're right. And I expect you guys to do the same, see, because I don't see walls or barriers, I see places to plant. I see great natural resources of my community like abandoned buildings, okay? This is not for the wealthy. Project-based learning is not for the wealthy. You can do this anywhere. We took over buildings like this without $1 of retrofit and turned them into food factories. All this stuff is on wheels. I've got veterans, seniors, kids who are working, growing food. It's amazing, and most importantly, when you teach kids to take ownership of where they live, guess what? They want to impact it, and they really do. They truly do. They become agents for change. This is one of my favorite projects. 4 years ago, I ran out of money for arts and crafts. Holy crap, literally. No more arts and crafts. So this is the toilet paper project. I asked kids to just come with could you use 1 square of toilet paper less a day? Of course, I had some who were bringing me tons, and I told them to leave it over there. And I never shook hands with them again. But this is the power of what kids can do. We all have a hand in it. We can reduce, reuse, recycle, and grow our way into a whole new economy. And we're teaching kids that it's easy to do. Like Michael's backpack says, just do it. He lost 110 pounds, this kid, by coming to school and eating healthy food that he grew in school. So I have a lot of energy. I'm hoping you plug into it today because my model is easy. Cultivate, propagate, and replicate. I want to show you 5 days in the life of a seed. And then I want to show you 5 days in the life of my Green Bronx Machines kids. That's 5 days worth of growth. That's 25 days later. That's a whole lot of lettuce. We're Bronx proud. I like to say we're farming and you know it. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. So we are in the South Bronx, the poorest congressional district in America. So to be able to be part of the revitalization of this community is everything I've ever aspired to do. Who knew we could get kids to come to school for the privilege of farming?
100% of the students who come to us are either dropouts already or they're on the way to dropping out.
Our kids show up because it's fun. The way he does it, he's stern. If you want to have fun, if you want to be part of this program, you also have to produce in other subjects.
The real-life applications of this program transcend all level of academics. There's reading, writing, math, science.
And the light at the end of the tunnel is a job.
We're growing food. They're working in kitchens. They're working in supermarkets. They're buying, grading, and rating produce. They're aspiring to be chefs in restaurants, creating food and dishes they never imagined.
I started going to school more, and things started getting more interesting because of this program, and now I am building green walls and green roofs all over the globe.
Other states and even other countries are looking to Bronx kids to train them in the technology that Steve has trained our kids.
I'm not willing to accept the things I can't change. I'm going to change the things I can't accept.
We're starting through Steve Ritz to tell the new Bronx story. We're no longer the borough that just made it. We're the borough that's leading the way.
And I am the luckiest man on the planet.
Progressive people are everywhere. Stephen Ritz is one of them. Learn more at apronprojects.com.
And who would think people would come to the South Bronx, but we are. So I'm here to share my passion with you. I'm going to ask, and that's a sign in my class, I'm going to ask that you share your passion with my kids. They run the website. They run the Facebook page. Please like my kids on Facebook. They're doing a contest to see who can get the most likes. So please like my kids on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter, but it's the kids. I do have a TED Talk. If you haven't seen it, it is the power of just one person driven by nothing more than testicular fortitude to make a difference in this world. And I urge you all to do the same. And on that note, together, collectively and collaboratively, we must get the biggest bully out of public schools tomorrow. The biggest bully is not the principals. It's not the unions. It's not Common Core. It is this. And it is our moral obligation to get this out of schools tomorrow. So if you see it, say something. Get it out. Teach kids to stay out of stores that look like this. When my kids learn what the power of their economics can do to drive business locally, we see changes globally. And most importantly, I am at ground zero because most stores in my neighborhood used to look like this. Slowly but surely, they're changing. Model healthy food for kids. Vegucate them. Teach them about entrepreneurial stuff. Teach them what vegetables are. Teach them to sell things, to grow things, to nurture. It is remarkable. My kids are making living wage doing this and loving it. And most importantly, like all of you know, love them. This is really all about love. And I like to tell you that kids and people and adults respond to love. So nurture them. When kids learn to nature, they learn about nurture. And when they learn to nurture, we all embrace our better nature. Now, there's a war going on in public schools today. You all know it, no matter what state you're from. No matter what your position is, and we're seeing schools close and polarization in this country that's of epic proportion. It makes no sense to me to see schools being closed and shuttered and becoming facilities that look like this when they can become food factories generating health and wellness and positive outcomes for all of us like this. So while nature has no compassion, we as humans do. And I urge everybody in this room to teach that compassion, to model that compassion, to model that empathy, and that's what project-based learning does. I mean, the beauty, if you will, of Hurricane Katrina and Hurricane Sandy is that it teaches all of us that no pack group can bribe the laws of nature. And my kids, your kids, we are Americans, Mexicans, African Americans. Mama didn't raise cans on my shift, and that's the beauty of project-based learning. We are cans. We can, we must, and we must move from a nation of red states and blue states to a nation of green states, living eloquently and ecologically in line with nature. And 50 years later, not only in this country, but around the world, civil rights remains the greatest issue of our time. Strand that down, it's two things: education and the environment. So what a great place to start your project-based learning. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it. I'm also thrilled to be working with the U.S. Green Building Council and the Center for Green Schools because every child deserves a healthy environment. Every child deserves a place where they can dream of a brighter future. And simply put, it is easier to raise healthy children than fix broken men. Unless, of course, you're in the prison industry, but I think that's a different convention. Yeah, different convention. Okay, good. So, realize this, every day 25% of the population goes to school. There are 133,000 K-12 schools in the United States and 4,300 colleges. 25% of every person of the country is in school every day. 50% of all households either have an employee or a student going to school. 82% of people are committed to doing business with a corporation that supports public education. This is the greatest opportunity in the world to build market share. Realize this, people. Teachers change lives. You can change lives.
Who wants to play? All right. You're it.
My name is Stephen Ritz, and I am CEO, Chief Eternal Optimist of Bronx County.
We're going to actually grow our own lunch. So while I started with high school kids, now my biggest bang is with the littlest kids possible.
Plate.
A towel garden is like this plant, but you don't need soil. And then the water comes up, and then it comes down and rain on the roots.
Adults think you can't farm in the South Bronx. Tell it to these kids. They're farming. For so many, food is the problem. Yet for all of us, food is a solution. We have some of the highest rates of juvenile diabetes and juvenile obesity in the nation. And we can change that. We absolutely have the power to change schools in this generation.
My kids love reading to plants.
That happens. Exactly.
You mean I can pass it around and they can see the seed in the plant? My job is to teach kids how we can grow food. And I'm asking everyone to roll up their sleeves and get a little dirty and grow something greater.
He lets us plant stuff like salad, cucumbers, tomatoes.
My 4th and 5th graders came into a classroom with no windows to build a tower garden and literally turned it into a farm. And we talked about how healthy food builds healthy minds and healthy bodies, and where are we doing it? Right here in school.
So did everybody plant a seed?
Yeah!
The excitement and the joy that these little kids feel putting a seed in the ground and watching it blossom. OMG, as they say, this is their moment.
I think he cares about us a lot, and he wants us to learn and have fun at the same time.
I'm not a farmer, but I'm planting seeds.
He always says, like, seeds are like people because they need love and they grow and grow and grow to be successful people.
To use 21st century technology to generate food and to create this beautiful thing to sit by that you can actually eat is game-changing. It's empowering. They're growing. The plants are growing, and they're responsible for it. And when they know they can grow their own, they really start changing the way they see their relationship to the world and their place in it.
Big one. You gonna eat it? Is it good? I love it. Thank you. So that's my project. I get a little misty-eyed because, man, those kids are great. I love them. And, you know, there are people who see this and say, Alan, music, please. And then there are people who see this. But I'm here to tell you, I encourage you to see it like this because I believe opportunity is now here. And in my class, we say, lettuce, turn up the beat. So I want everyone to think, lettuce, turn up the beat. I invite you all to say, lettuce, turn up the beat. You see, I have this idea. Imagine if kids and teachers came together to build value right where they live, learn, and earn, at home. Imagine corporations and schools partnering together not to extract profit, but to build wealth, spreading ideas that can go from classroom to classroom and school to school around the world with the power of the internet to change the way we all get along. Imagine dropping seeds instead of bombs. That's my big vision. So I say, one voice, one movement. Repeat after me. One voice, one movement. Because I have this really big idea. I don't need another 12-point management plan or a blue ribbon commission on education. Do you? I don't. I need committed partners. I want people who are going to show me and show my kids that the sky is the limit, that they can do it, that where they learn matters, and that together we can all work together, win, win, and win. So let me ask you people, is the glass half empty or is it half full? It is 100% full. And this little guy has put a lens on sustainability. It's not easy being green. You want to bet 45 years later, I'd love to have his residuals. He has put a lens on sustainability that's insane. So while we're all little tadpoles right now swimming around here at this conference, I want you all to take a big green leap. Embrace your greater frog. Take that big leap. Embrace your outer green roof. Here I am in the middle of Harlem growing corn, 8 stories up. Embrace your inner greenhouse. Plant a seed. Grow something great. Plant a green wall. Do something amazing. Here I am 4 stories up, and that's the U.S. State Department coming to visit my kids in the South Bronx as farmers. Go figure. These kids just went to the White House to cook. My kids from the South Bronx, go figure, plant a seed. Start with little ones. Every child in America needs to know where their food comes from. And remarkably, my kids are getting clean air and clean water simply because they're growing their own. We're starting this movement, and I hope it spreads across the country. I'd love to come work with each and every one of you. David, I have a pitch for you. I figured it out this morning. And just a couple of months ago, I was on the Today Show showing how you could eat your way to good health simply by growing food in school with kids. I'm now working with this Tower Garden program. It's the easiest thing in the world, and I'm growing food 12 months a year in classrooms where it matters most. Ready, set, grow. California, can you hear me? 90% less water, 90% less space. This is 24 days of growth in schools with kids. You can do it, and guess what? You can eat it. It's amazing. Happy kids. 44 plans. Talk about reducing labor, teaching kids how they can farm in all new ways. These are my kids. We have an amazing guest in the audience. Cindy Gershon is here, the California Teacher of the Year. Cindy, stand up. Cindy came, instead of taking her kids to Disneyland, they came to my school to cook with my kids. Imagine that. Together, we can get to our own personal side of paradise. And this is Cindy and her kids cooking with my kids. This is how we do school in the South Bronx, yo. So, whatever you do, design, build, and transform, and remember that social sustainability and living wage is at the heart of innovation. That's what we're here to do, and that's what project-based learning is all about. We're together. We can all prosper, win, win, and win. Ladies and gentlemen, if you see my TED Talk, you will notice something. I've changed. I've transformed myself. I have gone from impossible to sexy. No, to I'm possible. Simply by eating what I grow with kids in school, modeling health. So if I can do it, you can do it. And I want to tell you that our kids really are the greatest national treasure. No matter our kids, global treasure. Our children are the greatest global treasure in the world. And while we're all rejoicing in the recent graduations of 2014, some of us are getting excited about next year, I want to focus on the class of 2025. The kids you met in my video. Look at them. They are adorable. And my fear is that we have gone from decades of lost opportunity perilously close to what may be the decade of last opportunity. And no matter where you stand on what issue, Superman is not coming. I, me, you, us, we are the ones that they are waiting for. It is our obligation. We have the ability and obligation to change their lives, to help us grow the biggest pumpkin ever. So are you ready? When I say people, you say power. People. Power. People. Power. Ladies and gentlemen, please, no matter what you do, where you go, embrace this mindset of endless resourcefulness. You know, now that you know more, I expect you to care more. And now that you care more, I expect you to do more. And it's really just that simple. I will bleed green for my kids, and I ask you to do the same, because I'm not willing to accept life as it is. I don't even want life as it could be. I want my kids to help design life as it should be. And guess what? Here in the South Bronx, we are doing it. So don't ask why, because asking for permission is begging for denial. Don't ask for permission. Just do it. I'm telling you, as an administrator, just do it. Asking for permission is begging for denial. Just get out there and do it. Make a difference. You can go from this to this, from this to this. It is amazing. And remember, guys, deep inside Earth is this amazing thing called art. So embrace it. That's why we're here. Make art. Treat your kids as artists. Let them paint themselves a future they've never imagined. Out of darkness will come the light, people. I am growing food in dark basements, year-round with kids in school, growing food and growing healthy outcomes. I am the weed that wants to succeed. I am that pesky piece of crabgrass in someone's lawn, although you're not allowed to have one here in California. But I am the city resilient, and so are all of you. So no matter what you go and where you do, please take time to smell the flowers, especially if you and your kids grew them yourselves. I got passion for my plants, and I'm not afraid to show it. I'm Steve Ritz from Green Bronx Machine. I am farming, and you know it. Please reach out to me. God bless you all. Have a great conference, and we can do this. This is our moment. Thank you.